Two dubs, one snub. No, I'm not talking about a new movie that's coming out. The Chicago Bears have two Pro Bowl selections in defensive end Montez Sweat and cornerback Jaylon Johnson. However, there is one person that is a question mark, a head scratcher to some, obviously, you Bears fans, but to some even around the league, DJ Moore, who has not been a Pro Bowl selection despite a very, very good year. So let's talk about it. What is going on? This is your boy Jordan JC back on the ATS report. And yeah, two dubs. Montez Sweat and Jaylon Johnson did their thing. They have turned this unit around with their play. As soon as we got Montez Sweat, we saw this defense go from a mid-tier type of defense in the league to a top-tier type of defense. With that one guy on the defensive line, this whole team has taken a turn for the better because we always talked about it. When you get defensive pressure up front on the quarterback, all of the other positions actually eat off of that. They improve off of that. The cornerbacks improve because now they can jump routes. The linebackers improve because now they can also jump routes as well and play a little bit faster without thinking too much in the game. So Montez Sweat definitely was a huge impact as soon as he got here. On the season, he has 12 and a half sacks, which is tied for 10th in the league. He has over 54 tackles, or I believe 54 tackles, and then 3 forced fumbles in this season. The crazy stat is he's actually still leading the Commanders in sacks. There's no one that has more than 6 sacks on that team currently. And then he came here and he's leading the Bears in sacks. And so you can see just how much of an impact a Montez Sweat type of player can bring to a team, whether it be with pressure, sacks, forced fumbles, pass deflections, whatever the case may be. He puts his stamp on games, and you can tell that he is present when he's on the field. Jaylon Johnson, we've been talking about this all year about contract situations. Is he worth a new contract? Is he worth a certain amount of money for those top-tier cornerbacks when you think of a Jair Alexander, Sauce Gardner, those type of players, right? Well, he's backed it up. I'm going to show you what PFF, or rather, I'll tell you what PFF has him ranked as. First in passer rating allowed at 19.3. Second in the league at completion percentage allowed at 36.8. First in yards per game allowed at 11.3 yards. That's crazy. And then first in a PFF grade of 90.8, tied for 7th with 4 interceptions. And of course, we saw there were many times where he actually could have got a few more picks if he had sure hands on the ball. And so we talk about Jaylon Johnson being a good cover cornerback, but there was always a question mark about him actually being able to get the ball and intercept the ball, takeaways. That was the name of the game. That was the question mark with Jaylon Johnson is he able to be a complete defensive back, a complete defensive stopper in that aspect? And he's proven that. And so when you see him doing this, you got to pay him. Ryan Poles, I'm sure you're seeing the tape. I'm sure you're seeing the games, especially in the latter part of the season. Jaylon Johnson deserves a contract, and especially now because it solidifies it with him being selected to the Pro Bowl. So props to those guys. I think those are two of the most impactful players on our defense and on our team that has truly changed as I always say, the trajectory of this team. And they're only going to get better with all the young defensive pieces that they have. Now, with that being said, I know for a fact that DJ Moore has got to be rolling over, not in his grave, but in his bed, because this man did pretty much everything you could think of to get in the Pro Bowl. I'm going to show you his stats. I keep saying showing you his stats. I'm going to tell you his stats for the season. 92 receptions, 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns, 14.1 yards per catch. He is the first Bears receiver with multiple 150-yard games since Alshon Jeffrey. DJ Moore should be a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Now, that's not to knock all the other selections. I will go into stats with them. CeeDee Lamb, great season. Obviously, he's the first Pro Bowl wide receiver. He's going to be a starter right next to A.J. Brown. CeeDee Lamb for the season, 122 receptions, 1,651 yards, and 10 touchdowns. You can't deny that type of productivity, and so obviously he's a Pro Bowl receiver. A.J. Brown, 105 receptions, 1,447 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Again, on a great team with a great quarterback, so obviously he's going to get a Pro Bowl selection as well. The numbers back up that as well. Now, here's where there's a little bit of a, take it or leave it, because these players, they're good. They're actually really good as receivers, but there's one in particular that I feel like just kind of came out of nowhere and is having a really good breakout season. And props to him for getting a Pro Bowl selection. But I would assume that, well, maybe, DJ Moore could have been the other pick. He could have been the one that replaced this person. But first, we're going to mention another player, Mike Evans of the Buccaneers. 76 receptions, 1,233 yards, 13 touchdowns. And so I believe he is the leader in touchdowns for receivers. That is the only stat that he is better at than DJ Moore. So do what you will with that. I don't know how to even go about whether or not that's good enough. I mean, obviously touchdown matters because it caters to winning and scoring. So that is something that's good. He's first in something. And so I guess maybe that's the reason why they picked him possibly over DJ Moore. Here's another person that kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody knew about him, or at least I know I didn't before he came on the scene. And this was kind of a product of a receiver going down in Cooper Kupp, and that is the Los Angeles Rams, Puka Nacua, I think his name is pronounced. 101 receptions, 1,445 yards receiving, and 5 touchdowns. Now, I'm not saying that those numbers do not deserve Pro Bowl selection, but DJ Moore, I feel like, has a better track record. If you know anything about football, DJ Moore was on a team for a very long time in Carolina that didn't have the greatest quarterbacks, and he constantly was getting over 1,000 to 1,100 yards per season with just a slew of average to mediocre quarterbacks. And then this year he breaks out with Justin Fields with 1,300 yards. One more game to go, by the way. And he doesn't get the pick? I don't know about that. That's give or take. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think that, in my opinion, he did get snubbed, especially over Mike Evans. More receptions, more yards. I would say that he could have gotten the replacement for him. We don't know. Maybe he comes in as a reserve at the last second. Not sure. But you saw on Twitter that he put up the Joker meme. Obviously, he's not feeling too good about not getting a selection. And so, hey, that may be incentive or motive for him to just kill even more, maybe for the Green Bay game, which is good for us because we definitely want to get that win against our hated rivals. We also want to see what he's going to do next year. Obviously, he's probably going to put in more work to even be more of a beast because this team, I think, is going to be even better as regards the receiving core. And so I think he's going to eat even more next year. We might even see more of a breakout season from DJ Moore. And so I believe this is just the start. But yeah, very good start for the Chicago Bears. Some representation, some good representation for the team. And hey, I want to see how you guys feel about that. Do you think that Montez Sweat and Jaylon Johnson were deserving, given that they pretty much put up the numbers? Jaylon Johnson did what he needed to do to secure that bag and also secure a spot in the Pro Bowl. Montez Sweat has been an impact since day one of being traded here. And he's just completely just transformed this defensive line and the pressure that they put on quarterbacks, which also helps out, like I said, all the other guys behind him and the linebackers and the DBs. And so do you think that they are deserving? And also, do you think that DJ Moore was snubbed? I want to get you guys' opinions as always. I'll be down there with you. And as always, please show some class. Comment, like, and subscribe. Share this video with others. And I will see you guys on the next ATS report.